What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Cat Attacks Live.
Another one.
Another one. You smart, loyal DJ Khaled.
I didn't know you were going with that.
DJ Khaled.
I'm sorry. I only know him as one thing.
Okay. Well, he's not on this episode, unfortunately. I wish he was. That would be so cool.
This is a sneak peek to the next one where he's on this episode.
He would just be in the background, right? Just be like,
he would hit.
we the best music.
Yeah, we'll have him say that like every 10 minutes.
Like a timestamp.
It's like, all right, DJ Khaled, and costing like $20,000 to be here.
All right, guys, this episode has nothing to do with DJ Khaled, but we're talking about our creative processes and how we create art. Yeah. What else?
It involves a lot of DJ Khaled jokes.
No. Oh, we don't want to hype them up for DJ Khaled jokes.
Our creative process is
our
tangents. Did you say feelings?
I said our things.
Our things.
We talk about how we make stuff happen and how it works for us in our brain when it comes to pieces that we put a lot of time and soul in. So guys, don't forget that we are on all platforms: Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, and Facebook. The link tree is always down below on this. Go check it out and don't miss a new episode. Thank you for all the new listeners as well. It's really exciting to get some feedback. Josh?
Thank you for all the new listeners. We appreciate it. And the feedback. We appreciate you guys always and forever. In the words of a lot of Vegas people, big things coming soon.
All right, guys, let's attack life. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Cat Attacks Life. We are here. Josh, say something to let them know that you're here.
I'm not digging the microphone placement.
What did you say earlier?
Microphone placement is bullshit.
What class are you taking?
Huh?
What class was that you're hosting?
The bullshit in the AV industry? I don't know.
The bullshit in the audio industry.
The bullshit in the audio industry.
101.
101.
Class by Joshua Healy. Duration time, 5 minutes.
You guys hear that? No, that's exactly right.
Because our audio is messed up.
That's a
and it's
mess.
BS. Amazing.
Welcome back where we attack life, which apparently includes arbitrary things such as audio and visual text.
We are very low maintenance when it comes to things that bother us.
Or high maintenance. How's that work?
Oh, you're right. Like, this is the small ideas make it, since we make the small things big deals, is it like we're high maintenance?
I like to think I'm low maintenance when it comes to things that don't bother me.
Mm-hmm.
But when things, see, now I sound stupid because that's everybody.
Water.
I'm super low maintenance when things don't bother me, but when they do, I'm high maintenance.
And other news, the sky is blue. In other news, fish can breathe underwater.
Is water wet?
No, it's not. Water is water.
It's wet.
I heard that recently, but I'm like over here balancing out the pros and cons of this statement.
How
is water wet? Can it be wet?
Why does that sound like a CNN headline? Today, Monday on World News, is water wet?
This is how much content that they have left.
Classical science disagree.
Research shows that no, it is not. Okay.
What happened exactly is what happened you said was going to happen.
What? Yeah, we're going to not talk about the topic we had assigned this episode to be, but we'll get there. Whatever direction we go, we'll get there. Water is not wet.
Jesus Christ.
Water is water. Correct?
Yes.
I feel like anyone who's going to listen to this is going to comment like, water is not wet. Or
water is wet. I feel like anybody who listens to the first 20 seconds of this is going to be done with this episode right away.
No, please listen.
Please listen.
Listen.
We respect all opinions on water.
H2O. Yeah.
If you guys don't know this about us, we'll go continue to do this for hours. But to stop that, today's
to hinder that.
episode,
Yeah.
the overarching theme that we're going for is the creative process and what inspires us, both me and Kat, and how we fold those inspirations into whatever we do artistically, professionally, and so on and so forth.
Yay! So, yeah, we're going to go back to that question. What inspires you? What inspires your projects or, the things that you create? So, we're going to go deep into how we feel and think and what inspires us or who inspires us, or like growing up, things that we latched onto and then it became, a part of us to this day. I have a bunch. I do have a bunch. So before we get going, this is the thing that I wanted to put in here for this episode because I found it really interesting. Josh, describe to me what you think of when you think of a cow. Describe to me how you describe a cow. Go ahead. It's gonna hold down a point. Go ahead. A cow. Moo. to clarify, if I wasn't clear.
So the first thing I think of when I hear cow is actually in reference to an episode from Friends.
God.
It's the conversation basically goes, it's a moot point, or it's a moo point. The right saying is it's a moot point, but Joey says it's a moo point, essentially. And she's like, what do you mean moo point? Like moo, it's like a cow's opinion. It just doesn't matter. It's moo. So
that's the first thing that comes
That's the first thing that pops into my mind whenever I think about cows. The second thing I think about is
describe them.
Like describe them?
Yeah, describe a cow.
They're fat.
How you see it. Describe it. Keep going.
Fat.
It's gonna get to a point. Just keep listening.
It's gonna be embarrassing, isn't it?
Yeah. But go ahead.
They're fat.
What do you honestly think of a cow?
They're kind of lazy. And we don't even really need to drink their milk. They serve like no purpose. I mean, what the hell? They're kind of just...
Oh, no.
Okay, and then finally, the one thing I'll give cows is that...
Okay.
I'm a big meat eater, so I appreciate cows for some steak.
Oh, my God. Okay.
So.
Describe to me how you see a horse.
I don't know. America's first car.
A horse? That makes sense. Describe a horse.
Or human beings' first car.
Describe a horse.
Okay. It's on 4 legs, has a tail. Some are brown, some are black. Get to the point of this exercise.
Is that how you honestly see a horse? Give me more.
What else?
If that's your final answer, let me know.
That's my final answer because I'm not gonna
It's okay.
go into like horse biology over here.
Okay. So, what I wanted to bring up, and I'm really happy this is recorded, is the cow and horse personality test.
Oh, jeez.
So, when you describe a cow, it's how you describe yourself. When you describe a horse, it's how other people describe you. So
I would go on record saying that personality test sounds like bullshit.
it's so funny. It's so funny. Josh just said you were fat and lazy. No. Is that what you think of yourself?
No.
Okay. So yeah, you guys try that test out on other people that you know. Ask them to describe a cow and then a horse.
And then be prepared to be hated immensely.
And be prepared to feel superior because you know what that means. The first time I heard that. What?
I hate you.
And that wraps up our episode. Josh hates me forever. No, when I first heard that, believe it or not, guess what I was watching?
Was it Blackpink?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Guys, I'm on a Blackpink obsession right now.
Are you the moon?
So one of the members asked one of the other members, right, describe a cow, describe a horse, and then she was like, it's based on how you see yourself, and then how people how other people see you. And in my head, when she was like talking, she's like, when she said describe a horse, I was like, in my head, I was like, or a cow, right? Cow first. I was like, okay, strong, gentle, cute.
No, you did not.
Yes, I did.
No, you did not.
For sure. I was like, cows are adorable. I think they're giant puppies.
Man, fuck cows.
Right. And then and then she was like, okay, describe a horse. In my head, I was like, they're steadfast, they're strong, they're dependable, they're majestic. And then she just, explained what that meant for other people. Like the cow is how you see yourself, and the horse is how other people see you. And I'm like, wow, that's interesting. I took it in an abstract direction. I had asked Angel to tell me what she thought too, like a week ago. And she, even dead ass, I will say this, and she's gonna listen to this.
Tell me the episode. Tell me the what she said.
She said, I was like, describe a cow. She's like, they're smelly. they stink.
See, this is why I don't like this test, because I do not feel like these represent people personalities.
It represents how they see.
That Angel does not smell.
It represents how they see things. I think of things abstract. I guess you guys are more concrete. And then I was like, describe a horse.
Okay, so
wait. Not done. It's like, describe a horse.
Jeez.
She was like, they're Mexican.
Did she really say that?
She said that she was like, they're... I forgot the other one where she's like,
have you ever met a Hispanic horse before?
I can understand where she comes from, growing up around horses when she was younger. But yeah, she was like, they're big and they're Mexican, like question mark, like Mexican. I'm like, okay, that's how other people see you. Totally, it's true.
I mean, I guess there's Japanese cows. So.
Yeah, Wagyu beef. Get the hell out of here. So that's a little fun personality thing for you guys to try that out. The cow and the horse test.
Man, I'm a slice of Wagyu beef. Get the hell out of here.
Nice. They're expensive.
Okay, I'll concede that test is more for how you see things versus how you see yourself.
It's funny though.
Yeah.
Because then it makes you think of things differently too. It's like, whoa, what else do I see in this like concrete or abstract form? Then going back to, how we form our creative processes, how we decide that we're going to make some piece of art, whatever it may be. It can turn very like literal, like we were talking about earlier, like structure and architecture and buildings. I think buildings are art. When you look at the blueprint, it's like amazing to know that someone created this from the foundation up, And then there's the abstract where it's just like watercolor flowing, or sunset, or these colors just blending together, or some kind of gradient, So there's always a category, but I also know that there's also a blending of. It's never one thing. It's never just this thing. It'll never, for me at least, like I see art differently. I think when we talk about that, I am reminded of the people who walk through like galleries, and then everyone's perception is different, and everyone's like what they're looking at or what they'll see first is different. I think that's pretty cool.
Well, yeah. So I agree with that perspective in the sense that one of the quotes that I remember, I can't remember who said it, but the main purpose of art is not necessarily to be liked, but to invoke a response. That's the way that art, or the purpose that art serves, is that it's meant also to convey whatever the artist was intending to convey through whatever liberties they were taking, how to express their emotions, how they're expressing themselves on a piece of paper or on a canvas or in a sculpture or in anything else that they do that you can take an artistic approach to, but also the response that you have to it. And I guess that's also the same thing with response to arbitrary personality tests.
Cow or the horse.
As you can see, Kat thinks a little bit more abstractly than I do.
Yep.
So,
Josh, you are free to talk about the things that you have artistically put time into, you're free to talk about what your projects are now. Tell me more about what you're up to these days.
I'm free.
I'm coming out.
So, okay, the longest... I'm straight. The longest...
By the way.
The longest project that I've had going by far, which has been about... Now that I think about it... it's almost the same amount of time as long as your and mine friendship, actually, because it all started back in 7th grade. That's the longest project that I've been
Wow.
working on creatively.
I do remember. Okay.
It's a very scientific project, and this is also probably part of my literal personality, but just the general research into very amateur research that I'll put at that into the workings of the universe, energy, renewable energy. I'm kind of a scatterbrain whenever it comes to science. Essentially, is that I take all kinds of disciplines of science and I try to see what the next step is, whether it be genetic engineering or new ideas for interstellar propulsion systems. I was actually working on wormhole theories, black hole theories, understanding the very fabric of space and time. Trust me, we could dedicate a whole entire podcast to some of the thoughts that I've had, especially regarding to particle physics. I've been working on quantum physics and particle physics for maybe a little bit more intimately and a little bit more deeply for like the past 3 years or so, especially when I started getting into quantitative analysis, the combinations. One of the things I was looking into was the combination of Fourier systems and the predictions for the wave functions of quantum particles themselves, so that way you can more accurately predict quantum superposition and the wave functions as they apply to fields. So that's what I've been working on lately.
Guys, Josh is very, 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 very smart. I know listening to the past episodes, you probably thinking like, what the
Okay,
the hell are they on? But Josh is a very smart person.
Not at all. I'm just insanely
Curious.
That's
a good word.
That's defines me. Because, all right, so I like to keep myself grounded as much as possible. I think about this stuff on a daily basis, more or less. And I'm okay being wrong, essentially. That's pretty much how I still keep going and keep myself grounded and not agree with you that I'm the smart person.
You're just tacking on ideas.
Yeah, I just hack out ideas and see what goes from there. I just find this stuff incredibly interesting.
Yeah.
So that's my longest project. It all started... Okay, so we're talking about inspirations and things that have inspired us. One of my biggest inspirations, obviously, is the film Iron Man when it came out in 2008.
Iron Man. Okay.
Yeah.
He made me watch Iron Man, and then we went to see 3?
Let's see 3 in IMAX, yeah.
3 in IMAX. Iron Man 3 in IMAX. I understood why. Why he loved that movie.
It's amazing. So, my aspiration is to be a real-life Tony Stark. There we go. Who knows if it'll happen, but we'll see. But that was what spurred everything. I think that movie came out around the time we were in 7th grade.
Middle school?
In middle school. I remember I was taking I was in middle school. It was a geology class or whatever it was. No. Was it geology class? No. It was astronomy. It was astronomy. And so Miss Manor. Shout out to Miss Manor. That's when I started doing research into renewable energy systems and just learning about how electricity works and that whole entire one of the things that I was really interested in was infinite loop energy systems, or what's it called? The actual word for it I think is like frictionless energy or perpetual motion machines. Okay, so basically what a perpetual motion machine is a machine that performs at optimal efficiency without any energetic leaks in the system. So think of like a windmill or a water turbine that is 110% efficient, so much so that you actually gain energy without having to put more than what you gain back in.
Okay, yeah.
That's like the holy grail.
I see.
The holy grail of energy, and if anybody figures that out, that would drastically change everything we know. But I started working on those kinds of machines. I was told it's theoretically not possible by Miss Manor, and I'm like, we'll see about that.
Yeah.
So
it was a challenge. Challenge accepted. Yeah.
By the by, for any physics nerds out there, the 4 laws of entropy only really apply to closed systems, and the universe is not a closed system. So think of them as guidelines and not necessarily laws.
What is your... So I love how, within this, the way you think, there's always an open end. Like there's always like it's not completely this. And I love that because I don't think science ever ends. If it ended,
it'd be a sad day if we knew everything.
Yeah, if we knew everything, I think that's also it's weird to think, right, scientists are artists, but when you think about how much progress it's made and where we are now when it comes to these ideas and these proven and tested theories, it's art in itself. Like everything is art. Life imitates art. But like, do you ever put that 2 and 2 together where it's just like, oh, it's science and facts and numbers and whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think the two are compatible. I think that any scientist worth his salt has some kind of artistic inclination, whether it be writing or painting or anything like that. So, for example, one of my inspirations is obviously Albert Einstein. Right. And the funny thing about Einstein is the reason people think that he was so great at being able to deduce and to come up with solutions to a lot of the fundamental problems regarding gravity was because he had a higher I can't remember the name of the lobe. It's like either the frontal lobe or the parietal lobe, but it's the part of the brain that's in charge of spatial awareness, and that he had a larger lobe by about 10 or 15%, which allowed him to imagine scenarios and to be able to imagine the laws of physics in an actual space, kind of like a virtual reality within his head, to be able to solve these problems. And he was highly technical, and it just, like, think about it. That's Albert Einstein, and he solved, and a lot of his theories still hold salt today, almost 120 or so years later, that we're still finding out that he's right. And he never even saw half of his work come to fruition in a visual sense. He never saw a black hole. He never saw the actual what is it? I mean, he saw the bending of space and time around when he did his first experiment. I think it was in 1912 over in South Africa. Or even with quantum physics, a lot of people don't know that he delved into quantum physics too. But this highly technical guy, mathematical, physics, and all that kind of stuff. But he had a penchant, and he enjoyed, and he could play violin, and he enjoyed classical music and being able to, and he used the violin, the viola, the musical instruments to help him think. Like, that's a compatibility of artistic creativity.
Yeah.
All right, one feeds the other, essentially. So I think that's...
Is it similar to what you can describe your processes? Or
I'll never compare to Einstein. But sometimes. Okay, so the process that I have when it comes to like writing poetry, and then the process that I have when it comes to like thinking about scientific ideas are kind of similar. I listen to music. I look for certain things or whatnot. So when it comes to writing poetry, I usually look for musical tracks that are kind of instrumentals. They don't really, in a way that it's almost like I'm writing songs, but not with that intention.
For sure.
And I'm looking for instrumentals that invoke or have the ability to hold space for emotions, to amplify those emotions, to be able to write them down in a way that can be understood and conveyed, and still have some kind of differentiating aspect to them rather than just being rhyme and meter. Kind of like my own personal fingerprint on my writing. So that's that process when it comes to poetry, is I look for more abstract music. But when it comes to physics and scientific ideas, I look for I wouldn't necessarily like say dubstep, but like techno beats or just beat music in general, kind of like in the background, white noise and everything, or movie tracks, classical music. Movie soundtracks. Hans Zimmer, he's a good one.
Yeah,
that's the kind of stuff I listen to whenever I'm thinking about science.
Isn't it crazy music is such an influence, no matter what we're doing. I always find that like the best part about art, and in a way, like music is going to be everywhere. And even for someone like you, you know, it's your art isn't the same as someone else's like, oh, big abstract paintings, but for some reason music is going to connect that together, and I love that. I also agree with you. Like sometimes I like to listen to music that just kind of makes me feel something, depending on what I'm doing. I know you don't want to talk about it. Can we talk about it, please?
I mean, I guess.
We painted recently. Yay!
I'm not as excited about it.
So this is how we figured it out that Josh was not a painter. Josh is a writer. For you guys probably don't know. That's why he said poetry. I was like, Josh, you write. Say that you write. Damn it.
Look, I can't be perfect. All right.
I can't do. You know, I gotta give a piece to everybody.
I can't hold it all down for everybody.
Right. I gotta give something. I gotta be generous. So we painted recently. You know, we had a few canvases here and music at my place, and just the ideas that were running through our heads, and listen to music in like 3 or 4 different genres and artists, and so many things going on. But you know, one thing I remembered at the time was just like, you know, music, when I'm creating something, I do like to listen to something familiar. You know, I do like to listen to something that I like and can remember, or can like, you know, feel nostalgic in a way, or go back to a time. I think music does that for me regularly. I've listened to albums for 3-4 years running. You know, Dua Lipa is my favorite artist, and her first album came out 2017, I think, and I still listen to it to this day. Stuff like that, you know. So I like listening and using music as kind of like an access point of my emotions, because they sit there in that time frame, and I'm just able to like let myself be free, because it's not hurting me. It's just sitting there. I don't know. Does that make sense? Like, I can create something when I'm listening to something that makes me remember how I felt at the time of, or something that can bring me to the point of feeling happy, sad, hopeful, whatever it may be.
That makes sense. Makes sense.
It's like the key to the lock where my emotions sit, where I can like create something, and that's going to open it, and that's going to let it free. So, I guess I also know Josh. I also know Josh that you're very spontaneous in the best way possible.
Spontaneous how?
You're painting.
Oh,
I had a game plan, guys. I had a game plan. Like, I'm gonna make a border. You know, I'll post a picture or something eventually, but
of her
like,
painting, not
of mine. Yeah, maybe not Josh's.
We're
not disclosing what that looks like.
It's terrible.
I had a game plan, and like, okay, I want this. I want a border. I'm gonna put tape in. Like, it was focused. Like, this is gonna be great. And then Josh over here is like, you know, I'm gonna let myself do whatever I want, and we started from there.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Look, I've never been good at drawing. It's just all right. So where you, I think there's some things that we're gonna dive into in terms of how we access our creativity and the ways in which we express it. So for you, obviously, from what I've noticed, is that your creativity flows a lot from your body. It flows a lot from your physical ability, whether that be drawing or even your physical, like martial arts and wrestling and all that kind of stuff. A lot of your creativity flows. And that's part of, some people have that creative outlet where it flows through the way that they use their body to produce things. Me, I'm more of I've been told this by a couple people, some intimate people, that I'm a more logically based person. And so a lot of my emotions, ironically, are going to flow through that logic filter. And so I feel much more at home expressing my ideas and my emotions through writing, through abstract discussions. Yeah. Does not come out when I'm through my body at all.
Yeah.
The most I use my body for is just physical exercise.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to like painting and dancing, trust me, I'm not.
Oh.
So, but this is what I'm being honest about myself. This is where I noticed that this is where some of my deficiencies lie, is that I've never been really been able to express myself through physical means in that sense. And that's just the way that some people are creative.
Yeah.
And I think that might be the primary difference between you and me
Mm-hmm.
and everything.
I think so too.
Is just the way that we express our emotions in which sense.
In which art form?
Yeah, in the different art forms that we do. Because you've always been a drawer. You've always been able to draw.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you've drawn a couple of your own tattoos, haven't you?
Yeah, I've come up with a few. Not
I remember,
drawn, but
I do
yes.
remember that you
Yes,
did
yes.
draw your first tattoo.
Yes,
Yeah, I remember that
did.
one. So
I did. A lot of things come into my mind when I think about, like, yeah, Josh is right. Like, I drew religiously when I was a kid into, high school, and then drawing more after that. It started from like Powerpuff Girls. Admittedly, I love them. I still do. Powerpuff Girls, and
Which one
then
are you?
huh?
Which one are
Buttercup. No
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, I can see that.
Buttercup.
Buttercup.
Suck it up, Buttercup. And then drawing cartoons, and then like more and more detail in those cartoons, and then it became portraits. I started drawing more people. I started drawing like wrestlers that I liked or people I admired. It was part of my portfolio. And drawing was always a big part in how I felt that I could like release something, like release maybe anger or sadness. Like I just drew. And I remember staying up so many nights, 4 or 5 hours, like it's like 4 or 5 a.m. I'm drawing something, and I don't sleep until I'm done. I don't sleep until it's done. And that to me is always like a part, also not just creatively, but like a part of myself, like needing to release or needing to react in that way. It helps. It's almost like it's when you feel good doing something, you'll keep doing it forever. It's like people who choose like sports. I feel like sports is an art for sure.
Well, have you also noticed that a lot of the greats, when they're doing something that they're great at or that they're considered to be great in, it's always because that's what they've always enjoyed doing.
Yeah.
It's never because they said, I'm going to do this and I'm going to be the greatest at it.
Yeah.
And necessarily. So
I think we talked about this before, but basketball players.
Oh, yeah.
Not everyone's going to play basketball. Not everyone's going to be good at it. But if you love what you're doing and you can find your successes in it and never get tired of it, that's to be admired.
Yeah, the successful part about it is the secondary, and the passion is the primary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's something to say. Like, basketball players make so much money, but when you look at it, it's like not everyone can play basketball just because they want money. You gotta love what you're doing.
And that's what I've noticed about creative endeavors in general, is that a lot of people, if they're successful off their creative endeavors, it's because what am I looking for? It's being successful was never the goal, right? Mm-hmm. Which is like an oxymoron, or in the sense that, well, you're good at this, why wouldn't you want to be successful at it? And I think people have lost the definition of what it means to do something that you're passionate about versus doing something that you're successful at. Because let's be honest, there are a lot of things that people can do that they're successful at. Mm-hmm. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're passionate about it or that they're good at it. Mm-hmm. A good businessman or a successful businessman, what does it really mean if they're not passionate about it, if they're just making money? And, it's just, that's,
I also like what Josh was saying about like the physical aspect of it. I think I think about that more and more every day. But when I think about like wrestling and then like fighting, the years that I spent, it was like 2-3 years together collectively. Also like being a fan when I was younger, so I guess that all kind of works out. But what I found when I was, in the middle of the creative process is in that sense was just finding myself, and what made me. Like the fingerprint for you in your poetry was something that makes a lot of sense for me when I think about the fingerprint and what I was doing, and the art that I wanted to put out is me, no one else. If I didn't like a move that I was doing, no one else was doing it though, that was me. It's just stuff like that, or like the way I do something is me. That's my fingerprint. Like it's right by me, and I'm performing it safely. Or if I, like, for example, like punching a bag, it looks different on everybody. You're not going to find someone who punches the bag the same. So that's your fingerprint. As long as you're safe in doing it, that's the way you're creating it. I think people forget that martial arts and anything physical is also something so completely individual and personal to the person, because this is them telling their story in whatever it may be, a bout, a match, like the Olympics. I think the Olympians are probably the most dedicated artists you'll ever meet, because they'll get to that point. The only thing they want to do is find their own success in their own work, which is, winning a gold medal. I mean, it's not perfect. I feel like that's also kind of a disclaimer too. Like sometimes it's not the mentally healthiest thing, but like it is something that drives them to succeed,
See, that's interesting that I think about it now when you brought that up, is that, when you put it in those terms, an Olympian going for just a gold medal does seem kind of ridiculous and mentally unhealthy, because it's a physical prize that doesn't really do anything for you other than a title, an award. And I would hope, or I think, that most Olympians are actually not chasing after the medal, but they're chasing after the process, which is why the most successful ones, from what I've seen, aren't concerned too much about the end game as much as they are about the processes that they do to get there.
It's a slippery slope, to be honest. It's a percentage of people who love it because they're doing it, they love it, or
they're doing it for a reason. And if that reason is pure enough to not be corrupted by whatever reason there might be.
Going into that brings up a really good point that I wanted to talk about. One of the people that inspired me, Ronda Rousey.
Of course.
Her book is sitting right over there on my desk, signed by her, because I met her. Ronda Rousey was one of my biggest influences when I was trying to find myself, trying to grow into the person that I am. Like, I met her, and she's amazing. She's so sweet. Her book I read twice. There was a section in there from what I was just talking about, the Olympians. She was a Olympian judoka, right? She was doing judo to that point of being in the Olympics, and she wanted to win the gold medal. The only thing she wanted was to win that gold medal. Okay, so this is a story in her book, her personal story. She won bronze. She won bronze and was devastated. Okay, she was devastated. And then I think a couple years later, the person who won gold in her division, in her division, had committed suicide.
Oh, I'm familiar with this story.
Yep. Trigger warning, but it is something that she had just that in itself, and hearing that for what it is, she had changed her perspective, her perception on like, what does that gold medal actually mean? If the person who won it isn't happy, she wanted that to be happy. And then from there, that's how she got into something else. And that was the UFC, which is, her own kind of way to find her success in that way. And then that's how she became one of the baddest women on the planet, right?
Yeah.
So I always think about that too, and it's just like, what are you working for? Okay, what is something, if this is driving you, why is it driving you? And what are you doing it for? You don't draw something and want it to look like, sometimes it happens, but like, you don't draw something, start it, and thinking it's going to look exactly like the end, or exactly what the reference picture is, and sometimes people get affected by that because it's not the perfect picture that they're looking at, but it's theirs. It's kind of a metaphor. Like, it's still you. You're still doing it. It's still your way of showing yourself and telling your story or showing your art, but it's not a comparison, and it should never be a comparison. Every single time I end up creating something for myself, like now more so, I'm just like, man, I finished it at least. You know,
It's done.
It's done. There's another thing too. I think I told you, it's called the 70% rule.
I remember, yeah.
Yeah, I love this too. And I wanted to put this in the podcast eventually. So here it is, guys. 70% rule.
The other 30% is 10% milk.
What?
2% milk, I'm sorry.
10% milk. Ew.
What's the other 90%?
Fluids.
Ew.
So the 70% rule is something I live by now. The first time I heard it, I was on YouTube. I forgot who it was, and I wish I'll reference that later. But they were saying, whatever you start, okay, don't focus on the perfection aspect of whatever it is. As long as you start, you're already ahead. They said that perfection is a form of procrastination, because the more you want something to be perfect and you expect it to be, or you're planning it to be, you're stalling yourself from actually starting or beginning a project. So 70% rule is like, start something, just do it. It doesn't have to be completely perfect. It doesn't have to be pristine or, worthy of attention or whatever. Just start it. And see where you go. See where your mind and your process takes you. Because guaranteed, when you look back on it, it's going to be better than nothing at all. 70%, he was like, so it's like comparing, you have 3 very amazing, perfect looking projects versus 20 pretty good projects in the span of a month. Which one would you rather have? The 3 that you took forever to make, or the 20 that are completed and something that you can call your own and more, and it's more of you in there, and you have more practice and more experience in those 20 projects. So that's what he's saying. Like, if it's 70% good for you, you've already done your job. Don't focus on the perfectionism part, because then it just kind of slows you down. It kind of ruins it for you. It's like, it's frustrating. It's stressing if you think something's going to be perfect, whatever it may be. So 70% rule, guys, just take that in stride. If you're working on something, if you're a creative person and you feel like, there's something that you're holding off, or there's something that is not right in your eyes, just start it. Who cares? That was my whole, I don't know if I said this before already, but that was my whole reason for this, to start this podcast. The beginning of it
did it done.
The just uploaded. Like, the first episode was me just saying, like, just do something with it, just put it up, because I remember the 70% rule, and now I'm here, and we're 7 episodes deep, and I'm talking to you guys, and you guys can actually listen to what we're saying, and I love that. So that's something that everyone could follow. Start something, whatever. You don't even have to finish it, but just start it. Yeah,
exactly.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah, see, that's words to live by. Especially when it comes to the creative process, the 70% rule. That made me think of something else in terms of you're talking about chasing perfection. And I think that a lot of people, like you said, chasing perfection will lead to procrastination. And there's another thing about it too, is that if you chase perfection, you're chasing the ideal of one thing. And the whole idea behind being creative is coming up with so many different ideas that are different from one another, or they have your own unique identity onto them, or whatever creative output you have. it should not have any kind of limit on it.
Mm-hmm.
And the irony is that perfection is a limit on what you can create.
Yes.
Because if you're chasing perfection on a consistent basis, you're never going to be satisfied. And yeah, sure, you'll produce some things and so on and so forth, but they will never fit your idea of what you think is good enough for whatever concept you're coming up with, whether it be writing, art, drawing, sculpting, whatever it is, music-wise. And the trick when it comes down to artistic endeavors, being creative, is to not limit yourself. And that the only limits that are imposed on what you can do creatively are the only limits that you impose on yourself. And chasing perfection is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And once you realize that the bar is no longer a definition of where you want to go. You're not defined by whether or not you're going to make a certain piece of art or you're going to write a certain piece of writing. And it allows you more freedom to be able to naturally flow. And getting into that flow state is very important. There are times where I'm writing, and if I'm not feeling anything coming out, I'm not feeling the flow of a poem or of an idea scientifically, whatever it may be, is I don't brush up against it. I don't force it. See, this is where I disagree with a lot of people who are professional writers. But then again, what the fuck do I know? But the idea behind it basically is like, like you said, the 70% rule, but also apply that to writing. Is
everything.
Write 10 pages of whatever the hell it is.
Whatever you're thinking about.
Do whatever it is that you're thinking about, and then those 10 pages will help primer you for what you truly want to write.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that, and that is applicable. But for me, that I've seen is that I can't force it. Otherwise,
yeah.
See, this is the balance I feel between being productive in your artistic endeavors versus actually coming up with something that is not perfect, but does strike a chord that only you and hopefully other people will be able to feel.
Yeah.
Is not the word I'm looking for is not authentic, but it's kind of an indescribable feeling. It's more of you just kind of know that you hit the mark, that you've attacked exactly the spot that you've wanted to attack without really even defining it.
Yeah.
So it's like a cousin of chasing perfection, is that it's not perfect, but it's exactly what you were looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel for me personally,
I like that.
For me personally, it's if I don't feel that within the first coming lines or the first coming thoughts of whatever it is I'm working on, then I'm not going to continue to push or pursue it, because then to me that just empties my reserve. I like to layer my thoughts and ideas. I like to sit on my thoughts and ideas. In a way, I like to let them stew, to kind of just swirl around. And if it's a good idea and if it's big enough, it'll bubble its way to the top. And then that's what gets written down. It's not necessarily a form of perfection, as it is just finding something that, if it's big enough and it's good enough to make it to the piece of paper and actually have something follow it, that feels like it hits the mark, then that's exactly how I should be writing, or that's exactly what I should be doing. And I think it's the same thing with like art and drawing is, do the 70%, get it started and everything. I think that's important with your initial endeavors.
Yeah.
But once you hit a stride, to keep that stride going, to be comfortable enough with yourself to know when things are worth painting, things are worth writing, versus when they're not.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have an opportunity to always write shit things or to produce shit things. There's always going to be that opportunity. There's only so many opportunities to hit the mark. And that's so true. I think as long as you put yourself in the space to be able to hit that mark more often, that's where you start getting into a groove and you start knowing yourself better. And I think creatively speaking, knowing yourself more intimately is beneficial in the long run. And it's like a feedback loop. The more intimate you know yourself, the more intimate your creativity and the works that you produce, and through the works that you produce, you're able to like look at yourself more. It's like a continuous cycle, like a mirror almost.
Yeah.
So.
I feel that. I like that. That's true.
It's what my
Like,
process is.
yeah.
Essentially.
It's a balance. It is a balance. Absolutely. Like, don't just shit out stuff out of your pen.
8 hours, I'm throwing shit at the wall and nothing is sticking.
Yeah, no.
That must mean that something's not going on right. So,
I do think that the process of creating something in the middle, in between of the start and finish, is my favorite part. It's my favorite part.
you're in the thick of it.
Yeah. It just brings back memories of the times where it's just like I'm in the middle of doing something or creating something or, doing my thing, doing my sport or whatever. Just in the middle of it, you get the slice of like relishing in the fact that you're doing it. Like you're creating something. You're transforming yourself. You're finding you in different aspects. Like it's like the middle of a project is always my favorite, and I feel like there shouldn't be an end, depending on what you're doing or what you're making. But I feel like everyone will say, all the artists would ever say, it's just like the middle part was the best part. Okay, you started it, you didn't want it to end, and then once it did, it was just like, oh man,
What's next?
I miss it.
Yeah.
So the middle of the creative process for me is just where everything flourishes. And then looking back on it, it's kind of like that helps a lot more because I don't look at the start. I don't look at the end. I look at the middle. Like what's happening in the middle? What's happening there? Because that's where you find that like pearl in the oyster. Like that's where it's born. Yeah. What else from creative process? I think I'm one of those people that's like to start like a lot of things sometimes at once, and not necessarily finished it, but like I move on to the next thing really fast. Like I have done a lot of things for myself, and it's been fun, but then it's like there's no definite end, but I move on to the next thing. Yeah. Not that it's a bad thing. I think I love knowing that I can capable of like a bunch of stuff. Clearly for some reason, but I don't know. Everyone's different. I feel like if I was to the complete, like to the end picture, start to finish kind of person, I would have a hard time being open-minded or have a hard time budging, or when it comes down to like, I don't know what I'm saying. Like I'm thinking with vision, like in colors.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to be flowing through the next color. I would just be stuck in one thing. Like I don't know about you, but I like color. I don't know about you, but I do. Like as much as I kind of stay away from that physically, like appearance wise, I love color. Don't get me wrong. So when I think about it, like I feel like if I stuck to one thing for the rest of my life, I'm not saying it's bad, but like one thing for the rest of my life, I would be one color. One color, different shades. But I don't want to be just one color.
Yeah.
I want to be a gradient. I want to be a flowing of something, image of different angles and different colors and mixing with different things. I think that, to me, that's more of who I am. I could see that. I could see that.
Yeah. That's what it's about, is just being an amalgam of different things and different experiences, different creative outlets. This is exactly what makes up a person in general. And from what I've seen is there's multiple types of people in the world, but basically there's two types of people essentially, and then they all filter down from those two types. Is like you said, the ones where they want to be able to do multiple things captivate them, create creatively, which will probably lead to multiple disciplines. And there's people like that in the world. I think you and me are similar in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's people who are like the Michael Jordans and the Kobe Bryants and like great actors like Robin Williams and all these things, where they found their one thing, their one color, if you will say, and we're able to create out of that area, to be able to create out of that venue. And that's just the way how people are different, creatively speaking. Is some are more comfortable doing, how do I put this? Some are more comfortable doing multiple things from one lens, and some are more comfortable accomplishing one thing through multiple lenses.
Yeah. I can see that.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense.
If that makes sense. So basically, the drive and the motivation can be the end goal, the whatever goal it is that you set yourself up, creatively speaking. And how you go about achieving that is just a mishmash of different pathways to achieve that goal. And then once you get there, to even think if you actually did achieve it. That's a totally different process. Versus a one-way highway, and along the way there's detours and there's accidents, there's distractions, but you're always going back on that one-lane highway. So
yeah, I can see that. Hey, everyone's different.
Yeah,
everyone's different in their own right, and that's human nature in itself. So I have a lot of respect for people too, because I'm looking at it like, oh, I'm not this person doing this one thing on the one highway, you know? But then I feel like it's also the same for them, where it's just like, man, I wish I could do a little more than, you know, it's all where you're looking and where you're standing. But I think at the end of it all, when it comes down to art and what you create and who you are as a person, how you want to tell your story, it's important to know that you can't compare yourself and you can't put it up. There's no pedestal. You shouldn't be putting anyone on a pedestal. Like, to say that this is what you want to be. Like, I thought of this great quote, or I remember this great quote. I don't know if you guys watch anything on Netflix, but it was from Next in Fashion. I finished that recently. One of the contestants was like, you know, comparison, or he said, what other people think stops my creative process. When I have to worry about what other people say about my work, it stops me from being creative. And I thought that was just genius, because it's true. Like, when you focus on the comparison of what other people think your work is and what you want in itself, it really stops you from just exploding into this creative, like, exploding into this image where you want it.
Yeah.
If you want it there, leave it there, you know? If you don't, or it becomes someone's influencing you, or other people are influencing you, it's like, what are you really doing it for if you're going to change it from other people? Like, don't let other people mess that up.
Comparison is the enemy of progress.
Yeah. Like, don't let other people mess that up for you. If you have a vision and you want to tell it your way, tell it your way. Tell it your way. Who's going to care? You know? Who's to say that it's not good enough? Nobody. Who's to say? You know? Believe in that, guys. Believe in that for yourself. If you're scared of putting something out because of what other people think, like, to hell with that. Who cares?
Fuck it.
Who gives a shit? Like, just do it. just put it out, and someone's going to resonate with it. And that's the amazing part, is because almost 8 billion people on this planet, someone, probably more than one, are going to love what you do and who you are. Do it. Put it out there.
Just fucking do it.
Just fucking do it. If you need a sign or a push or motivation to get something
here it is
out there or started, yeah, here it is. Here we are. And here we're about to go, because we're about to close out this episode. Closing in on 57 minutes. Josh, any final pieces of advice, words of encouragement?
With creativity, especially with this episode, I'll leave you guys with one of my favorite quotes. It's by Steve Jobs. Is all life is around you was made up by people who were no smarter than you are. So
Mm.
do whatever it is that you want to do, however you want to do it, because chances are the person who says you can't has no idea how to do it
Yeah.
the way you want to do it.
Yes.
So
Amazing. So true. Like, even having this conversation, I feel so much more inspired and like free to think how I want to think. Yes, guys. So if this resonated with you, don't forget to send us a message. We are on Facebook, by the way, Cat Attacks Life. It's going to be on the link tree that I post on every episode on YouTube as well. Let us know what you think and how you work and how your creative processes are, and comment down below and all that good stuff. We would love to know what's happening in your brain. Thank you guys for listening. Josh, thank the listeners.
thanking them for anything.
What are they good for?
Thank you guys. We appreciate you being here. We know that you take some time out of your day, or you don't. But thanks.
Thanks to the listeners and non-listeners.
Thanks for letting us be
Who we
I
are.
don't know who we are.
Yeah,
I guess so.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right, guys. See you next episode.
Bye.
Bye.